was a little
Cheers,
aggressive.
Marshall.
My little
It was very aggressive. It was very aggressive.
Good morning.
Good morning, good evening, good night, depending on when you tune in today. For us, it was an early one and lots of technical troubleshooting, but we're going the old school way. We're back to one mic,
We
back to the drawing board.
we were so close. We had everything
were
set
so
up.
close.
2 mics, 2 pairs
Oh,
of headphones,
man.
an interface,
Yeah,
and then my microphone didn't work.
but
so.
hey, that's going to change soon. It might just be something we didn't see. But we'll figure it out. But hey, we're back to the base. This is what the people love anyways.
Yeah.
This is what they love. They love the one mic people.
You know what I like is that we're currently recording in. Well, I'm not gonna say the exact name.
Yeah, don't
But-
give the coordinates.
But no, yeah, but there's windows from floor to ceiling all around us. We're like in
Yeah.
a fishbowl right now,
Yeah.
and anyone walking by just sees 2 grown men at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning with one microphone.
It's
Just-
intimate. It's intimate. Marshall, what are we talking about today? What are we getting on?
We're going through. We've been slowly going through the book of Matthew.
Yes.
right.
The whole book?
No. Sorry.
Nice.
No. We've been working through a couple chapters, starting in 21, 22. We just kind of recently did 23.
Yeah.
And we are getting to what I would say the climax. Matthew.
I would say the climax is the ascension, dude.
Dude, you're right.
Wow, dude.
Well,
wow. I see where your priorities are, man. The resurrection. I see. That's the climax, dude.
You're right.
Conquering death.
It's the
Cutting off the head, you know?
You're right, dude. You're right.
Yeah.
But Matthew 24 was just the Olivet Discourse. And so...
I like how you just changed it to it's just the Olivet Discourse.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
got to tone it down now.
well, when you bring up the resurrection, dude. So anyways, I feel like what we've noticed and observed is a lot of theologians, a lot of people with different eschatological views will pull from Matthew 24 and essentially use Matthew 24 as proof text to basically use for their modern prophetic end
Ministries.
times ministries, right?
Yeah.
And so
Predictions.
we kind of wanted to, before getting into our deep dive episode
Yeah.
on Matthew 24, we wanted to kind of go over like what are some of the things that people pull out of Matthew 24.
Like, what does this look like?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think specifically we want to talk about like the signs of the end times. And we have a list of quotes here, and we're going to probably start by just getting those out of the way to give kind of the crash course to the examples of how they're used. Would you say? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What some of those people are really claiming and preaching. you know?
Yeah, like how they're doing this.
Right.
So let's start with this guy right here, this first one. This is J.D. Farag, and it's on his Aloha Bible Prophecy podcast. This episode was titled, quote, Urgent Prophecy Update 2020 329. So from March 29th, 2020, here's 3 different quotes from him I'll read, but starting, it says, I truly believe that this coronavirus may be in fact that which ultimately leads to the rapture of the church, the Antichrist's revelation, and the 7-year tribulation in that order. Let me just go through the other ones. Next one.
Yeah, you
Okay.
should just keep them coming.
There are other prophetic developments that are being eclipsed by this coronavirus pestilence, and I'm calling it that for a reason. I think it would be deemed obvious reasons. There is this plague of locusts you don't hear much about because of coronavirus, but it is sweeping across the globe and it's destroying everything in its path. I read a report last week that it was heading towards, of all places, China. And if this weren't bad enough, there have been earthquakes in very unusual places, exactly as Jesus said there would be in Matthew 24. Another quote is, so we've been doing these prophecy updates for 14 years now, going on 15 actually. And with the exception of Christmas and Resurrection Sunday, every week I've stood behind this pulpit, as has been my privilege to do, and I have shared with you that the Lord is coming. The Bible prophecy is being fulfilled, that the time is near, and I stand here stand before you today and before the Lord today, and I'm saying to you that it is not now that the Lord is near. The return of the Lord is near. The return of the Lord is here. I truly believe that with all of my heart. It's a good one to work with for a couple minutes.
Yeah. I think just even that last sentence of that last quote, like he goes from he says the return of the Lord is not near, it's here.
Yeah, like it's happening now.
It's happening. This was in 2020,
This was 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Almost to the month.
And he admits in the same quote that they've been making these prophecies, or not making these prophecies. Well,
Yeah.
Are they making these prophecies?
Well, this is the hard part is it's not. It's kind of on the cusp between, is it a prediction or is this just a general like trying to understand the Bible in light of current times? Because I think the way this guy's propagating it, he's going to be accountable to God for that, for how his shepherd or his sheep is responding, right?
Right.
How his church is responding to this. If they're making decisions based on that, you know, they're clocking out all their money. If they're emptying their savings and stuff because of that, he is. I would say he's
big
accountable.
If. That's an
if. That's what it if. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if they are. I don't know anything about that. But it is, to me, it is a little bit on the predicty side. Especially it was 4 years ago. I didn't see I got that wrong video. You know, I didn't see actually there may be more time than we thought. You just see another one using different signs.
Right. I also want to be clear. I don't think, like when we've kind of talked about like the Christian life coaches, and we've talked about like Pentecostal.
It's a different category.
I think those people, that category, are actively intentionally deceiving.
Correct.
I do not believe any of the men in this that we're about to quote are intentionally deceiving people into. I do believe that there are men out there that try to make lots of money off of end time books and stuff like that. But out of the ones that we're quoting, these are brothers in Christ, and I would say that he says he believes this with all his heart. I believe him when he says that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, these people we wouldn't say don't listen to. And it's interesting because
Rick Warren.
Except for Rick Warren.
Yeah, he's bottom quote.
But hey, don't get ahead of ourselves, man.
Sorry.
But at the end of that, I listened to his whole message from this podcast, and at the end, he does give a very good gospel presentation. So clearly, he's still preaching the gospel. People are still being saved. This is a secondary issue. But we're going to pave this foundation as we move forward to kind of, so you can kind of get a taste for how everyone's relying on the signs of Matthew 24.
Right.
Like that's, or Ezekiel 38.
Or just the newspapers.
Well, but when they see what in the newspapers? When they see locusts.
Or earthquakes.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting he brought up locusts too, because if you remember from our curses and blessings episode, locust is one of the covenantal judgments of when God is judging a nation. Mm-hmm. So that is supposed to happen. Like locust, famine, pestilence, these are all covenantal judgments. So for someone to say locust is a sign of the end times, someone could equally make an argument, no, it's just a sign of a local judgment.
Yeah, locust actually isn't, that judgment's not actually referred to in Matthew 24.
Correct.
Yeah, that's specific
but
to
pestilences.
Sure.
Famine, pestilence, plague, stuff like that. So you could lump that in there.
All right.
But usually locusts are involved somehow.
I'll give them that.
You'll give them that. But it doesn't say locusts, you're right. All right, this is Amir Sarfati on his Behold Israel podcast. This episode was titled The Day Approaching. It aired 10/19/2020. Again, 2020. He gave us signs for Israel. Matthew 24, when he talked to the people on the Mount of Olives, all the way from 3 to 31, talks about troubles and tribulation, preparing the nation of Israel for what is about to come. Talking about all the amazing events that are happening before our very eyes all around the world. Telling Israel, by the way, as a nation, unfortunately, you are going to go through the tribulation. But then there are signs for the church when he tells the people to look at Israel, look at the fig tree, Israel is about to get back to life, get back to its land and flourish. It's a big sign for the church to get ready. That one is almost what we almost went down another path with this, and we are going to do a future episode kind of dealing with the 1948 claim where Israel became a nation. And a lot of dispensationalists would say that is the unique sign of why we're looking for the Matthew 24 signs. However, there's nothing in Matthew 24 that refers to Israel becoming a nation.
Yeah, and even in this quote, like he says, he starts off by saying in Matthew 24, when he talked to the people on the Mount of Olives, I'm like, okay, who was he talking to? It's a little more specific.
Yeah.
He was talking to the disciples.
Yes.
It wasn't like this general, like...
He was just proclaiming in the streets.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're going to get it, again, a lot of this is, we're trying to... We're double dipping a little bit.
We're double dipping because we're going to go through the whole chapter.
Yeah, we're going to verse by verse go hit them all.
I'm not hitting anybody
You're hitting me right now.
right now.
No, but I think we're going to do as we were studying for this, we're going to do another. We've decided we're going to do another episode, specifically kind of addressing because I feel like I'm already anticipating the objections.
Yeah, deal with
from
some objections.
dispensational.
Well, and honestly, I think it'd be good if you're dispensational and you have objections, write us. Go on Spotify. You can. It says ask us questions, Q&A. You can ask us questions. We'll respond, and we can either just respond to you on there, or we can bring it up in a future episode. That helps us and gives us content. So,
not to slam anyone.
Yeah, there's no slamming here. Dude. My dad's dispensational. I have so many
Everyone
people
in my family
life that are very dispensational, faithful Christians. So
100%.
I'm not. This is not a. Don't hear us wrong here that we're slamming people. We're just addressing what we see as a theological issue.
Sure.
And they would do the same for us. And we would shake hands afterwards. We'd go get dinner. I'd drink a beer. I don't know what they'll drink. They might drink soda. But hey, that's all right. All right. So, we'll just keep reading more. Next quote. We are an amazing generation that gets to live in the days of Ezekiel's prophecy. Isn't it interesting how the Old Testament prophet has given us today's news? That one hurts a little bit.
Yeah.
To me, it does.
Why?
Well, because it's eisegesis and exegesis.
What does that mean?
So eisegesis is when you read into the text of Scripture from outside. So if you're taking outside information and now you're bringing it into the text
in the way you read it,
eisegetically. Exegesis comes from John chapter 1 when it refers to no one has seen God, but the unique God, Jesus, being one of a kind, has explained or revealed him to us. That Greek word is exegete. He has exegeted him to us. That means he has taken the knowledge of who God is. He has explained God. He has pulled from what we have and revealed him. So when you're reading Scripture, this would be you're actually supposed to let the text inform how you read the newspaper, not the newspaper inform how you read the text. And we have an example we'll get to of what this looks like practically, but I can assure you Ezekiel was not talking about today's newspaper.
And he's probably referring to Ezekiel 38, 37. 34, I'm assuming. A lot of Ezekiel. And again, we're gonna come back to that. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Not in this episode, but we'll get there.
We want to deal with all these. And again, talk to us. Tell us what specifically you're seeing of why it would be unique to our generation. Next one, it says, if that's not enough, then Ezekiel continued, saying that Israel's prosperity will be so evident that it will become a hook in the jaw of Russia. I don't mean to laugh. This one's painful as well because Russia is not in your Bible. I'm sorry to say, anybody who's reading Ezekiel, Russia is not in there. Rosh does not refer to Russia.
Do you think the only reason they think Rosh is Russia because it sounds like Rosh?
Yeah, and some translations don't say Rosh. It's also Rosh Hashanah. It's that uses the same word. Rosh is used, but it doesn't mean. I forget what it means. I think it means like holy or like exalted. So like Rosh Hashanah would be, an important feast day. But Russia's not in there either way.
Sure.
Either way, you can't get Russia from it. And the hard part with this is just because it sounds like it might be a King James only situation, I'm not sure. But, how many people came out and said it's Gog and Magog when Russia invaded Ukraine?
Yeah, quite a handful.
And I just want to ask those same people, is it still Gog and Magog?
We'll find out.
We'll find out. So that's the hard part is once you start labeling these things as signs, it better go your way.
Yeah, because, it comes back to making, essentially you're making false claims. Yeah. And so, especially as, humbly, especially as some of these guys who are pastors.
Yeah.
You're responsible for, shepherding your flock and preparing your congregation for the future, and whatever view your church holds of the future is going to dramatically shape the way you evangelize, the way you live as a church body, the way you fellowship, the way you do, I would say, everything, your work.
Yeah.
And so whether it's, we're going to get raptured out of here anytime, or we could be still in the early church. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's... Yeah.
Well, and honestly, do people even consider that? Is that on the table?
I wouldn't say majority, no.
I think because what we're getting at here is that every generation thinks they're the last generation. Mm-hmm. If that's historically consistent, what makes us special?
Right.
Right.
Well, not every generation has thought that, but I would say in the last, 200 years?
No, actually, there's books written that document how I think almost to the early fathers.
Well, I know
thought they were in the last generation. They thought they were the ones that were going to see the second coming of Christ.
Sure.
So they're just demonstrating that, not like consensusly everyone, but
there have been
a lot of loud or influential people, or Christian thinkers and writers that have saw signs in their day and said it's us.
Yeah, we actually got a quote from Mark.
Don't spoil it. We'll get there. All right.
What if I wish we had a bleep button, dude.
I actually thought about that last night, just to make it sound like you're cussing sometimes when you're not. Like, I got to get a drink, and I go bleep. And like, they got to get a what? All right. This one's from our boy Jack Hibbs. This is his tweet from 10/7/23. Israel at war. Throughout the decades in our Bible prophecy updates and teachers, I think he meant teachings, I have been preaching on this scenario for years. Now keep your eyes in the Pacific Northwest for China to go against Taiwan, or North Korea to do something stupid. Do not be surprised if simultaneously we see Hezbollah in the north of Israel coming out of Lebanon and Syria. We could be looking at the setup of either Isaiah 17 or Ezekiel 38, or both. Now, the thing with this one, initially, what I just think about, some people are actually just good at reading war. Like, they understand the conflict in the Middle East. These people have studied, like Jack Hibbs has probably studied the conflict in the Middle East because of his eschatology.
Sure.
So for him, understanding they might go against this person or that person, Syria next, this, maybe when he studied China and Taiwan, that conflict, and he says China next, he studied allegiance between China and this country. That doesn't mean it's what Matthew 24 is saying.
Sure.
Or Isaiah 17.
He's also not making necessarily that claim.
No.
He's not bringing up Matthew 24 at all. However, I think a lot of this, again, stems from the root. The root would be, the Olivet Discourse.
Yeah. So how you take that is determines everything else. Next we got same guy. This one's from 1:18:24. It says, when Jesus was asked about what kind of events would prompt his second coming, one of them he said was, and you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. These things are coming to pass, people, so be looking up. This one is
one's the most painful one for me.
Is it?
Yeah,
the wars and rumors of wars?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
When has there not been wars and rumors of wars?
Well, I'll tell you, Marshall.
You there was now?
There was. I'll tell you in a little bit when we get there. Let's get through these quotes.
Wow, we are really sticking to our show notes.
Yeah, well, we know if someone listens past like 24 minutes, we know they really wanted to hear about that time.
Sure.
All right. Next one is Dr. David Jeremiah. In his blog titled, quote, 4 Signs of the End Times. He says, Jesus warned his disciples that the end of the age would be marked by wars and rumors of wars, with nations rising against other nations. This is Matthew 24, 6 and 7. As dissension escalates, we can view it as a sign of the end times. The book of Revelation tells us that conflict, ceaseless, unending, terrible war will fill the tribulation period, and it will escalate until the entire world is involved. Many countries live at peace today, but there is a growing sense of instability in international affairs. It has been reported that 50% of all research scientists are involved in arms development. There is at least one military weapon and 4,000 pounds of explosives for every man, woman, and child on Earth. In 2019, global military expenditures grew to an astonishing 1.92 trillion US dollars. As shocking as this may seem, long ago the Bible predicted an escalation of conflict, border skirmishes, race wars, and national battles during the end times. So that one, again, there's a lot. And he's relying on what he's seeing in front of him to determine what the Bible is saying.
Yeah.
An example of this is the helicopters in Revelation.
Whoa, what?
Exactly. There's no helicopters in Revelation. But the locusts that's referred to in Revelation...
I'm not trying to laugh. I'm sorry.
I know. I didn't prep this one with you before, you know. This is a little spontaneous cammy, you know what I mean?
The charismatic side of you coming
know,
out.
Charismatic side of me coming out. Is you read Revelation, you read about the locusts, and a lot of dispensational commentaries will say John was actually seeing helicopters. Black helicopters. And to him, he saw locusts because he didn't know what a helicopter was.
Or he didn't know what locusts were.
What?
Like, or he didn't, do you know what I mean?
That's a good point. I've never thought about that. I've just never seen a locust. Like, it's like a locust, but extremely different and metal. You know, like, I don't.
Maybe he's just never seen locusts, you know?
That's a good point, dude. I never even. How did I not think of that?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's crazy, dude. Kudos to you. It's kind of, you have two different options here. If John were alive today, would you tell him what he saw, or would you ask him what he saw?
I'm gonna ask him.
That's the two different worldviews.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
but
he knows more than I do.
If you would ask any of these guys that question, they would obviously say, like, he would tell. Like,
I don't know, man, because I've heard. No, I disagree.
Really,
respectfully, yeah, not in a mean way with these guys, but I have heard a lot of them say, if only John knew what he was seeing.
No.
Yeah, I've heard people say that.
None of these guys.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. And people who listen to these guys. So,
okay, that's more believable, but
yeah,
because I still respect a lot of these guys.
There's like a hardcore dispensationalism out there. That's like it's like the full preterists over there, and then you got the hardcore, like really far dispensational. That's usually not as popular.
Really? Okay.
You know, and sometimes they might believe in the 7 dispensations.
To me, this is these guys are hardcore dispensational.
I'll see if I can find some quotes for a future episode on this. Okay, so hold me accountable, people. All right, next quote. This is our boy Martin Luther. In 1483 to 1546, when he lived, he said this: I am not so rash as to wish for the day of judgment. It is enough for me to know that it will come. As for the signs which precede it, they are all in existence. This is Martin Luther in Table Talk. So, Martin Luther saw the signs. Mm-hmm. And you got to understand, if you were alive during the Roman papacy, the apostate Roman papacy, you also would have been futurist. You also would have thought he was the Antichrist.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't blame these people for thinking that.
Yeah.
You know? But also, that's that's closer than what we see.
I would agree. I would say that a lot of the reformers would have, they thought the papacy was, the Antichrist,
exactly. In fact, Confessions of Faith say that, Westminster and 1689.
Right, and so to me that actually makes more. I don't want to say makes sense, but it makes more sense.
I think the 1689 is actually, I got to think about that. I know the Westminster
You know
does.
who we can ask about that?
We can ask our pastor.
Yeah.
And any of our fellow brothers who listen right now that we
Yeah.
go to church with.
Yeah. We can. We want to do a episode on the creeds and the confessions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
get nerdy
Whoa,
about that.
hey, don't reveal all our
Oh
our
my
tricks.
goodness.
A magician never reveals.
Sorry.
Mostly never reveals his tricks.
Do you know why magicians don't reveal their tricks? Or
Because
their
it's
secrets?
a trick?
No, dude.
Why? Because it's too much. Like great power comes great responsibility.
It's evil, dude.
Because it's evil. Oh no, the only
No,
like
dude.
because it's evil.
Tell me which magic is good in real life.
What are you talking about? Are
Sorry.
we talking tricks or magic?
It's the same thing.
No,
I trick you all the time.
you magician. Yeah, I knew it, dude. I had suspicions about you, dude. You're doing witchcraft over there. Wow. Okay. Okay. Next one, Rick Warren, our boy Rick. His purpose-driven life, man. He's not our boy,
No, he's not our
but
boy.
I don't listen to Rick. But you know,
Slick Rick.
I see his.
I listen
book.
to Slick Rick.
You do listen to Slick Rick. I see his book all the time at thrift stores. It's almost guaranteed to be at every one of them.
Yeah.
If it's not, I almost don't trust the thrift store. I'm like, they don't have good stuff. And good stuff and bad stuff. But they
There we
don't
go.
have
Right
they don't
on.
have good stuff for sure, you know. Rick Warren says the signs of the end times are all around us: wars and rumors of wars, natural disasters, moral decay, and the spread of false teachings. As followers of Christ, we must be prepared and faithful in our witness until he returns. Rick Warren, Twitter post, 2019. So we talked a little bit about the exegesis and eisegesis. I think we can actually move on from that. We kind of
Yeah,
broke
we
it down.
explained that.
Yeah. So just remember, you're reading Revelation. Let Revelation tell you what it means. Don't tell Revelation what it means by looking outside in the world.
Mm-hmm.
If you're reading Matthew 24, you let it tell you what it means, what Matthew meant. You know, you're reading John, what John meant. You're reading Paul, what Paul meant. Don't presume your theology upon the text of Scripture. So the question we want to ask is, why is our generation the generation? And are we falling into the exact same trap as previous generations? Something I want our listeners to think about is, here's just a couple times in history that were very hard. The Mongol conquest in the 13th century. Millions were dead. It collapsed and conquered the Khwarezmian Empire, which is Persia and Central Asia, the Jin Dynasty, northern China, Western Xia Dynasty, which is northwestern China, Kievan Rus, which is a Russian region, Baghdad Caliphate, and that was the end of the Islamic Golden Age, and parts of Eastern Europe. The Black Death, 1347 to 1351. Also, it seems like so many of these are just in very short chunks of time too, like 4 or 5 years. Like
Yeah.
it seems like some of them really didn't last long. The Black Death was the bubonic plague, affected Europe, Asia, and Africa, killed 75 to 200 million people, 60% of Europe's population at the time.
That's crazy.
So that's a lot of people.
That is crazy.
That ain't no 1%. You know what I'm saying? The Great Famine of Ireland, 1845 to 1852, killed over 1 million people from starvation and disease. It was actually caused by potato blight. World War I, 1914 to 1918, millions of casualties. World War II, 1939 to 1945, over 70 million dead, genocide, 6 million Jews, atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So I think if we were alive in World War II, I actually still think right now
Any of
there's
these eras.
any of these eras, we would have thought
Right.
the same thing. This is the end.
Oh, for sure.
We've said this before, but anytime whoever's listening, I want you to think about this. Anytime your personal region, whether that's state, you know, if you can see outside of your state, your country, whatever, is suffering and near to collapse, or maybe under a depression or judgment, you're going to feel apocalyptic about it. You're going to start thinking this is the end of the world. You're going to have doom and gloom around you and about you, about your surrounded around your outlook upon the future. It's just natural. And we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
I think the reason God talks so apocalyptic in a lot of local judgments in the Old Testament is because that's how it already feels, and he knows that, and he created us with that instinct.
Yeah.
And that it is exploiting that
Right.
to showcase further the severity of that judgment.
Yeah.
He says our eyes will melt from
Yeah.
our eye sockets. Our
Yep.
hearts will fail from within us.
Yep.
Our hands will grow limp. Like these things, none of those happened, but people felt
None of those literally happened.
literally happened, right? Maybe the heart failing within, like you drop to your knees, you can't breathe, like this
Sure.
panic attack. There's they probably felt the worst case of fear when that judgment came upon, that it's actually indescribable, but God described it to them beforehand.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? He said,
Right.
this is how you're going to feel when it happens.
Right.
It's not that it's always worldwide when he talks cosmically.
Sure.
Because it's like if someone says, I'm going to destroy your world, I'm going to end you. You think, oh, he's going to hurt me.
You're gonna beat me up.
He's going to punch me in the face.
Yeah.
A couple times, maybe 3 times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if someone says I'm going to destroy you, like, oh, he's going to really hurt me. Like he's going to try and ruin my reputation, maybe even. So if you heard someone say, I will destroy you.
Yeah.
In a depending on the setting, if they're like
I'm
sophisticated
immediately looking
people,
at Twitter to see what they said about
yeah,
me.
what did they say
You're gonna
about
destroy
me?
me?
You don't got Twitter, dude. Don't
I know.
lie.
I don't have time. That's
if you're,
hypothetically.
but it's interesting because if it's you and me street level and they say I'm going to destroy you, I think they're going to fight me, right? But if it's someone who's very sophisticated, lots of money,
Yeah.
lots of
Suit and
prestige,
tie.
and someone says I will destroy you, that exactly what you said. Look to your reputation.
Right.
It means something different.
Right.
But it's still doom and gloom, right?
I think about even in just a few years ago, dude, with COVID.
What's that?
The amount, right. No, the amount, it feels that way a little bit, huh? Like, I feel like a lot of people who were so
we forget everything.
fearful
Yeah.
and so changed their whole course of living around COVID.
Yeah.
Have nearly, what COVID, right?
What is that?
Right.
We don't like to talk about it.
Yeah. Anyways, but I
times
remember,
never last,
I remember just like the amount of fear.
Yeah.
Majority of people had, even when COVID, like that first week or two of COVID, the first time I heard about COVID, I was working at the coffee shop and a customer was like, this dude from New Jersey, he's like, hey, they just shut down the NBA. And I'm like, what? He's like, they shut down the NBA because of this COVID thing.
Dude, what accent is that?
That was my attempt at New Jersey.
That was so good.
Was it?
I was like, I actually didn't hear where he said he's from at first, and then he did that. I'm like, see, that was good. Man.
That's so funny.
They shut down the NBA.
I can't do it again.
Yeah, don't do it again.
Yeah,
It's over.
But I remember immediately like, oh wow, they're ending the NBA season because of this. And I was like, okay, maybe there's something to whatever he's talking about.
Yeah.
And I went to Trader Joe's that day for normal grocery run and nothing on the shelf.
That probably freaked you out.
That freaked me out. I mean,
Yeah.
I got kids that, I got to feed, and I was like, and I remember seeing everyone just panicked, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's that throughout history, you're not going to tell me that during World War II, if you lived in Europe, even in America, okay, all the men are going off to war.
America.
Okay, like super vulnerable state, right?
Yeah.
You have, sorry, what was it? The Black Plague.
Yeah.
Dude, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
They
They thought you could transfer it by looking at people.
Yeah.
So they didn't look at each
Talk
other.
about that paranoia and that fear that isn't like unique to the COVID era, right? And I think there's a huge emphasis on people who struggle with anxiety and fear in today's world.
Yeah.
But that's nothing new by any means.
It's not
and
new.
It's apocalyptic, and I think that's part of the way we're wired.
Yeah.
When we see things go wrong, it's I would say an act of judgment from God, and I think that is naturally what happens is there's a sense of trembling.
Dude, and he even says in Deuteronomy 28, remember, he says he'll cause fear and paranoia. Like he'll cause you to lose it
Yeah.
as part of the judgment.
Yep.
So yeah, this absolutely, and those are all just local judgments he's talking about, covenantal
Right.
ones.
Right.
We're talking about, if whether or not it's worldwide or not.
Right.
And do you think we need to even get on that? Because we kind of touched on it. We're going to come back to it.
Yeah, we'll come back to it.
Okay, we'll come back. 'Cause we're
Yeah.
going to do an episode on the 1948 restoration of
Yeah.
Israel. And I think we're going to commit to it and just go deep dive because there's so much to say, and we want to be charitable and represent people well. And I feel like if we don't spend enough time it's not going to be as thorough.
Yeah, because I think part of it was you were asking if any of us lived in those times that you just referenced, right?
Yeah.
Would we have thought that we were in the last days? And yet alone, currently now, can you confidently look back on those
Right.
in the past who thought they were in the last days and say they were wrong?
Yeah, so you have two types of people,
Right.
You have the kind of guy who's going to say, technically no, right?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then you have the person who's going to say yes.
Uh-huh.
There's a couple different views of end times. We've shared with ours in previous episodes. You can go back and listen to. But we're what you call a partial preterist, and so we take some prophecies as past and some as future, and we kind of try and work through which one's which. You have, to me, that's the more conservative view, the balanced view. You have everything's future in the futurist position, which is, I think, really challenging to get to work with Scripture. And then you have those full preterists that we would put outside of the Orthodox Christian faith that say everything's past.
But yeah, I think a lot the initial objection to that would say no, because they would say that they were wrong for saying they were in the last days because
Israel's not a nation.
Israel's not yet restored as a nation.
Well, and even in that part when Amir Sarfati says, "Look to Israel, look to the fig tree."
Right.
So that's, again, they're assuming that when it says in Matthew 24, "Look at the budding of the fig tree," that's Israel becoming a nation again. But actually, I'm getting ahead of myself.
That's all right, dude.
Getting way ahead of myself.
Are
This
you?
is all out of sorts. Yeah, it's all right. This is good. No, this is natural. This is good. It's important to read. We're going to hit back on this in a second. The synoptic gospels, Mark 13, Luke 21, Matthew 24, are all the same Olivet discourse. So they're not going to contradict. So if Luke says something different, it's more to the story, right? If he says, for example, this is what I mean by that. Matthew says, "Look at the budding of the fig tree." Luke says, "Look at the budding of the fig tree and all the other trees."
Right.
So if you take just Matthew and say that's Israel, Luke says, "Look at the fig tree and all the other trees." Why? Because Jesus is just giving a parable to say, look at the trees to see signs of the season.
Sure.
He's not saying, look at Israel become a nation to see the signs of the season. He's saying, just look at the trees. It's a parable. It's nothing to do with Israel becoming a nation at all. There's nothing about it. I'm just confident to say that. That you have to eisegetically read into the text with other theology you're grasping elsewhere.
Sure.
And what I mean by that is, here's a little thought experiment for you. Imagine you're looking for signs of a shipwreck. The signs you are looking for are going to be in water. You know that for sure, which means you can rule out searching in the desert. However, periodically, water dries up and reveals signs of other shipwrecks on dry land, but not necessarily the shipwreck you were looking for. First, establish what area to look into and what era to look in. Then look for signs of that shipwreck. Both shipwrecks have their own signs, but only one of them contains the signs that you are looking for. What we mean by this is that in Matthew 24, the context given in the beginning, they're looking at the temple. And Jesus says it's going to be destroyed.
Right.
And they say, when will these things be? And he gives them signs that precede that. So the era already isn't 2,000 years in the future. And if you really press a dispensationalist on this, they will agree most of the time to that. But they're going to say, yeah, the little bit about it is the temple. Then he quickly moves to the end times with all the signs and all that stuff. You still have to demonstrate that. You can't just beg the question, that's what it means, right? So just because there's signs, it doesn't mean there's signs of the future shipwreck. You know what I mean? We're looking in the past to see those signs. And I think it actually makes a lot more sense. I don't think I got ahead of myself too much, actually.
No.
Matthew 21, Mark 13, and Matthew 24. Again, synoptic in their structure. Another example of this. You heard the term abomination of desolation.
Yeah.
This is a buzzword, right?
That's from Daniel 7 or 12.
It's actually Daniel 9 and comes up again in Daniel comes up again in Daniel 11 and 12.
Okay.
The term abomination of desolation. I believe the abomination of desolation is more referring to the Daniel 9 prophecy. On the wings of abomination, one will be made desolate. Now, it's important before we even look back into the Old Testament, it's important just to see how it's used within that story. So Matthew and Mark say abomination of desolation, and they say spoken by the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand, right? So you can read Daniel. But don't forget to go to Luke 21:20, which reads, when you see Jerusalem surrounded by an army, flee Judea to the mountains.
Right. What does that mean?
Matthew and Mark, when you see abomination of desolation, flee Judea to the mountains. It's the same prophecy. You can't separate them.
If that was future, what could that possibly be in reference to?
Yeah, and it's tricky because
It's localized.
it's local. He says flee
From where?
Judea.
Right.
Don't go back on the house. Pray your flight is not on the Sabbath, or you're not nursing.
Yeah.
In those days,
You can escape on foot.
You can escape
Whatever
on foot.
this is. We'll get to that.
Yeah, and why would listen, Marshall? Let me ask you a question. Why would it be important not to flee on the Sabbath? First of all, that doesn't even apply to us because we don't do the Sabbath.
Right. Well,
Right.
because of the temple.
The doors are closed to the gates. There's no
Yeah.
work. So getting out of the city is very challenging.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Or
Yeah,
impossible if it's on the Sabbath.
Oh, wow.
Because you can't.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah. So there's context here that actually means more if it's in that generation than our generation. Us, we're like, cool, we see that. We actually don't apply that part to us. Pray our flight is not on the Sabbath. Like, why? Because we missed church? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where are we going to flee to?
Unfortunately, that's not
and it's
a
the
concern for most people.
right. It's the whole literal, non-literal thing too. Like, if I read that, Marshall, and I start seeing signs, do I flee to the mountains? And what mountains?
Bogus Basin.
But
I gave
go?
away our
Oh
location,
my
dude.
goodness! Now people know where we are. Here's another one. Luke 19:43 through 44. Before Jesus gave this prophecy, he said, "For the days will come upon you when your enemies will set up a barricade around you and surround you and hem you in on every side, and tear you down to the ground, you and your children within you, and they will not leave one stone upon another in you, because you did not know the time of your visitation." So that's another prophecy that was given earlier about the destruction of the temple. They did not know the hour of their visitation. Any thoughts, Marshall?
I also think, like, to point out, like, why did Luke choose to not use the term abomination of desolation?
Ooh, that's a good point.
You know,
Tell us.
Well, Matthew and Mark were Gentile audiences.
Opposite.
I'm so sorry. You're absolutely right. That's not what I meant. Jewish audiences. And so there's certain...
You get this confused sometimes.
Yeah.
Gentile Jew.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Luke was written to a Gentile audience, okay? And so the first, part of church history, or not church history, but the early church, as far as after Christ, I would say the church goes back to the beginning of time.
Amen.
But
we would also say the church is not new in the New Testament.
right.
It's the assembly in the Old Testament too.
Yes.
Is the church.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Anyways, no.
Just carry it over. Carry the one by,
But Matthew would be quoting Daniel, okay, and using the terms, well, Jesus would be, right? But Matthew would use that because he knew that the Jewish audience would understand the abomination of desolation and be
Exactly.
familiar with that term.
Yes.
Right? And where that comes from.
Yeah. For them, it meant something
Right.
different.
You're right. And the Gentiles, keep in mind, because this was, I believe, a judgment that was drawing near, right? Within, I would say, that generation, right? And there were some Gentile converts in those days. That being said,
Yeah.
if they did not know what the abomination
Luke
of
being one of them,
desolation,
right?
I think
Was Luke
so.
a Gentile?
I'm pretty positive, yeah.
Okay.
The abomination of desolation would not have
Hit home.
yeah, it wouldn't have hit hard. They would have been scratching their heads.
Yeah.
And so Luke just says flat out, when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies.
Flee. Yep.
And that's in the same exact train of flow of conversation that Christ is having with the disciples.
Right.
Like, it's not like we're not putting that in to the text. That's, if you read the synoptics side by side, you see that is exactly what Luke is referring to.
Right. Yeah. It's the same story. We've actually had people even in our own camp, like Greg Bonson, separate Luke 21 and Matthew 24 and Mark 13 and say Luke was about destruction of the temple and Matthew, Mark are about the future. You just can't separate. You can separate.
I thought he did
parts.
the opposite.
No,
he did the opposite, or he did that. Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I could be wrong, but when
I'm probably wrong.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. But it's just, and we've heard other pastors on other camps do the same thing, where Luke seems to be more about the destruction of the temple.
Right.
And then
Brett Meter.
Yeah. We're gonna use some of his material in a future episode as well, because he's a smart guy and he seems super cool too. So it's interesting. And Greg Bonson was incredibly smart. So these people aren't stupid that they do this. We just disagree with their hermeneutic. It's not dumb to interpret it a certain way. We're just kind of pushing back on certain conclusions.
We're also young, dude.
We're young and dumb,
10 years from now, we may be like, dude, Bonson was right.
Yeah, and I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
You know, and when I say, I'm an idiot, you know.
Dude, I might be dispensational in 10 years. Who knows?
You may be. Who knows, dude? We'll find out. Depends what happens in the world, you know what I mean?
It's true. Yeah,
so honestly,
it's true.
sometimes
I see Matthew 24, man.
If I just feel like we all are all products of our own time. Like, we are all kind of deeply, deeply affected by what happens in our lives.
The last 4 years have been a good time to be dispensational. I'll say that.
Yeah. But what after?
Well,
what do we do after? Okay. So the context of Matthew 24, we kind of hinted at it earlier, is the disciples, and I believe, I could be wrong, but I think it's in Mark. It says it's Peter, James, and John. I could be wrong, but it's his disciples he's talking to, and they're showing him the beautiful stones of the temple, and they say, look at all the beautiful, the beauty of the glory of the temple. It's amazing. They're viewing it from the Mount of Olives. And he says, surely I say to you, not one stone will be left upon another until all is thrown down. And they say, what will be the sign of your coming? When will these things be? What will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? Now, Luke, it omits end of the age. It just says, when will these things be? Right. And what will be the sign these things are about to take place?
That's why some guys like Pastor Brett Meter will say things like Luke 21 is referring to specifically destruction of Jerusalem, whereas Matthew 24 would be maybe both future and...
Well, and I would say...
I don't know.
I think at this point I do hold part of it as future, but not any of the signs.
And we'll get there.
We'll get there, yeah, because we're going to deep dive, and we're not just going to give our view on that. We're going to kind of give options. But it's important when you're reading the scriptures, any book in the Bible, you want to look for time indicators, and you also want to look for audience identifiers. So in the near demonstrative indicators for a lot of these prophecies say things like, soon, these things, upon this generation, I say to you, things like that, to where clearly he's talking to specific people. When he says in Mark 16, there are some standing here who shall not taste death till they see the Son of Man come in his glory with his angels and his Father with him. What does that mean? You can't tell me it's not those people.
You want to hear the objection I've heard?
Let me hear it.
The objection I've heard is that is future, and that when Christ returns, he's saying like everyone will see. It's not specific to those people who nailed him to the cross, right? But it's them and also every single person in judgment.
Like they'll see from heaven or hell?
Right,
okay.
right. So that's an objection I've heard.
That makes, honestly, but let me ask you, what does it make sense to the people who heard it?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I agree. But I just know that is
I also heard Jack
An
Hibbs
explanation
on the
for it.
radio. Our boy Jack Hibbs, dude. Nice guy, seems like, too. Actually, I like a lot of what he says on other stuff. But
I would vote for him for president, dude.
would you?
Yeah, I actually think
We
should
definitely
join
have peace with
politics.
Israel. I heard him talk about this on the radio because I, still listen to the radio. And he referenced this and he said that some will not taste death until they see the Son of Man come in his glory. That he said that was about the miracles of Christ, that he was revealing his glory in his earthly ministry. And they would not taste death till they saw his glory manifest. I don't think that's a good interpretation of this personally. I think what's a really reasonable one is the ascension of Christ. It says in Daniel 7, you'll see one coming on the clouds of heaven, like the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven, coming up to the Ancient of Days, and to him was given dominion, power, and a kingdom that will never end. This happened when Christ rose from the dead. And Matthew 26:64 is another reference to that prophecy. Jesus says to Caiaphas, right to the Sanhedrin, he says, tell us, I put you under oath, tell us if you're the Messiah. And he says, I am. And surely I say to you, you will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven.
Yeah, that to Caiaphas.
To Caiaphas. He
Like
would
specifically.
see it. Specifically.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so in many scholars would say this is a direct quote basically to Daniel 7 about the ascension, because Daniel 7 says his coming on the cloud was actually to the Ancient of Days. It wasn't him coming in the second coming or in the judgment on Jerusalem. It was him coming up to the Father to inherit his throne as the risen King Messiah that paid for the sins of the world and redeemed humanity by his perfect substitutionary life. And the kingdom is his. Solomon's throne is his, or David's throne is his. Solomon's keys are his. These are, Christ fulfilled all of this. So I think it's more doable to say that's what it's referring to. But if you lump all of the coming on the cloud text into one coming and at the end of the world, you're going to have a lot of trouble with this.
Yeah.
It's also important to know, like we've demonstrated in the past and we will in the future, how many times does Yahweh come on the cloud in the Old Testament?
A lot.
A lot. Read
Yeah.
Isaiah 19.
Yep.
He rides on the swift cloud.
Judging Egypt.
Judging Egypt, not the world, Egypt.
Yeah.
Referencing Psalm 18 would be an example when David, that psalm is about David subduing his enemies on every side and defeating Saul, overcoming Saul. And he writes Psalm 18. And you can, I think it's in 2 Samuel, you can read it also. It's the same psalm when he actually writes it. It's just in the Psalms as well. And it says the earth splits in two. The Lord rides on the wings of the wings of the wind. His chariots are beneath him. His cherub is beneath him. It has all this apocalyptic imagery that sounds like end times, end of the world stuff, but it's actually just about subduing enemies. So I think it's important to kind of see how that language is used in the Old Testament as well. And before we get to another one, anything else on that, Marshall?
No.
Cool. Sorry, just need a little extra. So next we got something to think about. Is we're not talking about signs. We're talking about unique signs.
Yeah, we're not talking about Mel Gibson
First
and
of all.
Aliens, all right?
First of all, how good is that movie?
It's great still.
It's so
and
good.
terrifying.
It is
still.
terrifying. I've thought about watching it actually several times in the last couple months, especially after listening to a bunch of Haunted Cosmos. I'm just in the alien mood.
Yeah.
And Signs is one of the best alien films ever made.
I would say it still is, yeah. Even though it's like you watch it now and it's like the graphics are not even good at all.
I don't know, dude. I still like Mac
But
and
it's
Me.
still freaky.
Mac and Me, dude. Everyone
It's
watched
like
that as
the
a
ET
kid.
spinoff.
Isn't that what it is? It's the B version of ET.
Yeah.
It's like the low budget ET.
It's like you have Hot Wheels and then you have Matchbox. You know what I'm saying?
Matchbox 20? Oh, no. Okay, so unique signs. Let's talk about a couple of these that are. This will be helpful, I think.
Yeah.
Matthew 24:14 talks about, this is honestly one of the last line of defenses, in my opinion, which we probably should have put this at the end, but that's all right. We'll just do it first.
It's good.
This is kind of the last straw, I think, for someone who is defending the case that the signs are future and that they haven't happened yet. They'll say the gospel must be preached in all the world and then the end will come, is what Jesus said.
Yeah, verse 14.
Now, if the end that he's referring to is the end of history, there's some issues. If the end he's referring to is the end of the Judaic Old Covenant, Old Creation age, and then the beginning of the church age, then I would say that is doable. And I would say the church age actually began at Pentecost. Personally, that's when regeneration was poured out. But Roman, do you want to read it, Marshall? That part, or it's pretty straightforward?
Read Romans.
You can read. Yeah, read this. You read.
Is that
those
what you
ones.
meant?
I like your voice, man. You read.
Okay, so verse 14 of Matthew 24 says, "In this gospel of the kingdom shall be proclaimed in the whole world as a witness to all the nations, and then the end will come." And so, yeah, you just touched on this, but Romans 1:8. Should I read all these?
Just those two.
It
It didn't update on yours either,
My notes
huh?
didn't update.
Yeah, only mine did.
Okay.
Interesting.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
well, good thing it's still Romans 1:8. Romans 1:8 says, "First, I thank my God through Jesus Christ for all of you, because your faith is proclaimed in all the world."
So their faith,
Their faith is their face.
their faces.
Their faith is proclaimed in all the world. Okay, and then Colossians 1:23 says, "If indeed you continue in the faith, stable and steadfast, not shifting from the hope of the gospel that you heard, which has been proclaimed in all creation under heaven, and of which I, Paul, became a minister."
So Paul says it has been proclaimed in all creation, to every creature under heaven. Is what other translations say.
Right.
So it's
There's
done.
other verses too.
Yeah, there's more. And when we do the deep dive, we'll actually reference all of them. But if the requirement for the end that's spoken of in Matthew 24 to happen is that it has to be preached to all nations, Paul says it happened.
Yeah.
So if
multiple times,
4 times to be specific. So if the end he's referring to, or the preach to all the nations, the world that he's referring to, if that's referring to literally the entire globe, that didn't happen.
right?
But Paul says
we're not suggesting that people in Guadalajara.
some time travel airplane stuff happened and
Yeah.
went back and picked them up and took them all over. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
That we know of. But Paul says it was preached to all creation under heaven, and to all nations, and to the whole world. So what did they mean by world? It's very important to think about, like when in Acts 2, when a census was taken out to register the whole world. What does that mean? Clearly they weren't taking a census of people in indigenous areas that they've never been to.
Yeah.
But the word world there, scholars would speculate, refers to the Jewish Roman world, the known world, the
Right.
world they lived in.
Right.
Again,
The dominant world.
Yeah, and I would say
of-
Rome was a very formidable force,
Right.
which is perfect for our next one. Oh, wars and rumors of wars, right? So, Marshall, you hit this one.
Yeah, I think the wars and rumors of wars is like one of the hot signs that people always, as we quoted and from those other quotes, people look at, conflict in the Middle East. People look at conflict with Russia and Ukraine. People are nervous about China. People are, anyways, but it's not anything necessarily new. And so was Jesus just being arbitrary?
Or cryptic.
Right. No, I think Jesus is being specific, and he's not just giving us signs to kind of like, here's a huge cloth full of signs. It could be any of them, though, throughout the course of history. You'll never know which one it is.
Yeah, that's really important to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think the reason he said rumors of wars wars and rumors of wars was because of a thing called the Pax Romana.
What is a Pax Romana?
Pax Romana is basically when Rome would dominate was dominating the world at the time. They established peace, and so they promised peace to those other nations that they would conquer, essentially establishing, hey, there will be no wars.
Yeah, it means Roman peace.
Like Rome has control and authority, and you're under their wing essentially.
Right.
And so there's no need for war.
Yeah.
But in that process, you must submit to Caesar.
Yes.
It was like an exchange, if you will.
It's an iron rule, like a harsh, tyrannical rule.
Right.
But it was peace. If you were part of the Roman peace, they could assure you to trust them because they would get your. It's actually similar. It reminds me of you have a jewelry store in like a big metropolitan city, right? And you have some guys come up and say, "We'll protect you."
Sure.
You know, we'll be your security but you gotta pay us.
Yeah.
And if you don't pay us, we're gonna destroy your store. But
you don't really get a say.
You don't get a say. But if you pay them, no one can touch you because you're theirs.
It's like the mob.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm describing.
Yeah.
You know, if you're listening, please don't come for us. Just kidding. But it's kind of that mentality. If you were under the Roman peace, you had assurance in peace. And so when Jesus said wars and rumors of wars, that was a big deal.
Yeah, because they would have been like, what wars?
There's no war.
Yeah, no one's talking about war.
Peacetime.
No one even dared to talk about war.
Yeah.
Because that would be objecting Caesar.
Yeah.
Right?
So it wasn't openly discussed. Right. So since that time, I would say there's kind of been nothing but war and rumor of war.
Like throughout all of history.
Throughout all of it.
So, all over the world.
All over the world. So it's one of those things where if wars and rumors of wars mean something,
right,
it has to mean something that actually means something. It has to mean something intelligible.
Yes.
It doesn't just mean someone's talking about war somewhere.
Right.
That some nation might go to war with this nation, and it's always going to be Israel if you're dispensational.
Right.
Israel's talking about war with Syria. Israel's talking about war with this, or China's talking about war. When you hear of wars and rumors of wars, it kind of gets to the point where it means nothing, and you're just going to always be looking at what other nations are saying.
Yeah. And then you're also like looking out for wars. And it creates this very negative worldview, I would say. You're always looking for wars. You're almost looking forward to wars taking place because you know what I mean? Like that's a pretty extreme take.
For sure.
But people do. They're like, oh, war. There's a war getting started. It's happening, right?
Yeah. But then what happens? World War II happens. It's called the World War.
If there was a time to be dispensational, it was World War I and II.
It was one because that was the first world
for
war.
Sure.
And then, that's not it. It's actually two.
Yeah. Well, I think especially with two, you have an Antichrist figure by name, right? One singular person
who's persecuting Jews.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think there's any clearer time in history that was closer to this than World War II.
Right.
But I just meant it's called World War I.
Yeah.
All the nations rising the first time would have been like, this has never happened.
Right.
This is all the nations. Then World War II. Absolutely. I think that even today it's not close to what was happening then. That was the most
could be. It could. I don't want.
I appreciate your charity. You're right. It could be. But I'm just saying, in my opinion, like so far, I haven't seen anything closer than World War II to these signs.
I 100% agree.
Next one is our favorite topic to talk about, just casually, is antichrists.
You made that plural.
Oh, you're right. I did.
Yeah.
So did John. This is Matthew 24:24. False Christ will come proclaiming I am him. Go out to the desert, but don't go. They'll say, look, I am here. Don't go to any of them. They'll deceive, if possible, even the elect, right? It's that part of Matthew. Something like that.
Yeah.
That is, so we need to take our lens off when we view these scriptures and kind of let the text speak more than we normally do.
Exegete.
Need to practice exegesis with things like this. Otherwise, we kind of create definitions. What I mean by this is 1 John 2:18. John, the Apostle John, who has authority and whose words are infallible here, It's spoken. God is speaking through him, which means his authority is greater than mine and yours. He said, children, it is the last hour. And as you have heard that Antichrist is coming, so now many Antichrists have come. Therefore, we know that it is the last hour.
Whoa. Hold up. There's a lot in that, dude.
A lot in that, yeah.
He first says that you have heard. Keep in mind, John,
When did they hear?
He had a real audience.
Yeah.
A real specific audience.
Yeah.
We're still lumped into that audience. God's word is absolutely applicable to everyday life throughout all of the time. It's God's word. It's his revealed word to us. But with that, John was writing to somebody.
Yes.
And so I think him saying it's the last hour, first off, what does that mean?
Well, because you got to think, what comes first, the last hour or the last day? The last day comes first.
Yeah.
The last hour is even later. The last minutes even later. If you're saying we're in the last days today, that's reverse what John was saying, because he said no, we're in the last hour.
Yeah, saying we're in the last days, the end times.
Yeah.
Whereas John in that first century said the last hour.
Right.
And not even that, he says it is the last hour, and then at the very end of that verse he says, therefore we know that it is the last hour.
And why does he know?
Because many antichrists have come.
There you go. So where did he get that from?
Matthew 24. Jesus' words.
He's quoting
false prophets.
Exactly. And that's okay. I'm glad you said that, Marshall, because that's synonymous. False prophets,
That's
false
what Jesus
teachers,
says.
false teachings. Right. That's, well, some translations say false Christs.
Sure.
Right. But if you read 1 John 2:18, and here's a couple other ones. 1 John 2:22 through 23, the definition of an antichrist is that they deny Jesus was the Christ. 1 John 4:1 through 3, the definition is that they reject the incarnation. And 2 John 7 is rejecting the incarnation as well. These books were written because of Gnosticism, because there were Gnostic teachers. They were antichrists, and their spirit or their doctrine was an antichrist doctrine, was anti-Christ. He gives parameters that they know. That's why he starts the book, the whole book of 1 John, out by saying, Jesus, that which we have heard and felt and touched with our hands, we declare to you. Why does he say that? Why is it important? If you know anything about Gnosticism, they believed Christ was only a spirit that appeared to be flesh.
Right.
John starts off by saying, no, we have handled him concerning the word of life. We felt him.
Right.
Right. Thomas said, unless I touch my hand in his side, I will not believe. And he shows up. He doesn't say, you can't touch me, I'm a ghost.
Right.
He says, come touch my side, feel my hands, feel it is me.
Right.
Right. So he was
Christ, that's the incarnation,
it's a
dude.
bodily resurrection.
Right.
Absolutely. So the context of 1 John is really difficult to remove the context of the whole book and then change the definition of Antichrist to fit back into Matthew 24. When John here is expanding on Matthew 24, because he says it is why we know we're in the last hour, by referencing these antichrists. And again, plural, antichrists.
Right.
Right.
It's described in is it in the verse we just read as a spirit, the spirit of the Antichrist.
Well, there's another one. I think it's I had a quoted here before.
Yeah.
But I think it's in the 1 John 2:22 through 23. He says, you've heard that the spirit of Antichrist is coming. Actually, it might be this one in other translations.
I'm not sure.
2:18. But the word spirit there, you're saying?
Oh, I'm just saying, it like to say it's specifically like one figure, like one person. It says, Matthew 24 verse 24 says, like what you just said, for false Christs and false prophets will arise. Plural, and so I think the idea of a singular antichrist, world dictator that kind of comes to like represent Christ to the whole world. They believe he's gonna die and then be resurrected and like kind of like mock or mimic Christ in this. They're going to say it's Satan, right? And or used by the power of Satan, and he's like this one world government, tyrannical leader who persecutes the Jews, I think. But they're referring to the false prophet
in Revelation.
Right? And so that's where they get the singular,
man of sin, and
the man of
Second
lawlessness.
Thessalonians.
Yeah. So, and we'll get to that.
We'll get to all that stuff. Yeah. I would say take one step at a time.
Yeah.
Does John here teach that Antichrist he's referring to is a political ruler? Or is he warning them about doctrine, about false teaching, about how to test the spirits, whether they are of Christ and if not? The spirit of error in verse 6 of, I think it's 1 John 4, 1 through 3. In verse 6, he talks about how to test the spirit, and he says the spirit of error. So clearly the spirit here he's referring to is the type of doctrine, type of teaching. And again, the whole book, that's why if you read 1 John 3, just take it literally, you'll become the most legalistic person I've ever met. He says if you sin, you're not of God. He who sins is of the devil. Mm-hmm. And by this we know who's the children of God and the children of the devil. He who practices lawlessness is of the devil. He who practices righteousness is of God. And he says, he actually goes as far as to say, when you're born of God, you cannot sin, for his seed remains in you. Mm-hmm. What type of sin is he talking about? If he's talking about Gnosticism, he's talking about licentious, temple, ritualistic, sexual sin that was unbridled. They said you can't defile the flesh because the flesh is evil no matter what. You only have to have the spirit renewed through these rituals, so therefore live as wicked as you want. And John is saying, no, if you live like that, if you live that type of sin, if your sin is this licentious, hyper-grace, anti-gospel sin,
right,
you're not of God. He's teaching his flock how to identify Gnostics.
Right.
He's saying if they're living lewd,
right,
if they're out there sleeping with prostitutes and have no conviction, they're not of God. They have not been born of God. They do not have the seed of God in them. We're not to take this stuff hyper literally here. We're supposed to understand what he means by it.
Right.
It's not what he says, it's what he means by what he says.
Well said, dude. Well said.
Will said? Who's that?
Will said. Well said. Yeah. Well, the other signs that most people point out is the famine in Matthew 24, verse 7. What is that? I'll just read that verse real quick.
Read it.
It says, for nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and in various places there will be famines and earthquakes. Earthquakes?
Earthquakes. I always thought I said quacks. Earthquakes. So, again, if we're just speaking generally, earthquakes, famines, pestilence, stuff like that.
Bro, have you lived in California?
Oh, yeah, earthquakes all the time.
Yeah.
It's funny. I've never felt an earthquake. I have been in...
Still to this day.
Still to this day. I felt like some aftershock here and there. We had an earthquake here just the other day.
Yeah, that would be an odd place.
It would be Idaho.
You gave us away again, dude.
I didn't say what city.
You said Idaho, man.
I mean, what town? I'll bleep that out, dude. One day when I can edit this, I'll bleep it out.
That's so funny.
Sorry, we're actually in Alaska.
Are you lying?
Dang it. We're somewhere. Anyway.
I give the exact minutes.
Wow. Okay. If the famines was just a general famine, pestilence, earthquake, stuff like that, then it doesn't really mean anything. If it doesn't mean something specific, Jesus here is kind of being a little too cryptic to understand, which he's allowed to do. He's God, right? Sure. But I don't think he gave these signs to be cryptic. I think he gave these signs because they were supposed to see these signs to know.
They were supposed to act upon them.
Yeah, they're supposed to see, the budding of the fig tree, these signs, that means it's about to happen. Let's get out of here.
Right.
And historically, the Christians
out
of Jerusalem.
Right.
And the Christians did flee, all of them, to a town called Pella. I think Eusebius tells us that.
Yeah.
So they did leave. The Roman army did surround Jerusalem, and they were able to escape before the destruction.
That story is actually pretty wild.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You got some more to say on that?
Well, just from what I understand from what Eusebius said, I don't know which gate or wall it was, but But one of the gates, essentially, was surrounded by armies, and then for a short period of time,
the gate was
the gate was open, and the people, the Roman soldiers left that side.
They left their post.
They left their post.
Which
then there was like a tight window.
Yeah.
For
God made an opening.
Yeah, essentially, God made an opening for the Christians to get out.
So tight.
And then they did.
Yeah.
And then once they got out, the soldiers went right back to their camp.
It's so crazy.
I don't know.
It's providence.
I want them, and I also don't want them to make a film about 70 AD.
Oh yeah.
Or just the Jewish wars. I think it would be very dark, and
oh wow, yeah, it would be so cool though.
It could be cool.
I don't want to say this to sound irreverent, but I think if someone who wasn't Christian made it without presuppositions and based it off of the writings that
Just
they had,
history.
like Josephus, Eusebius, I
Matthew
think
24.
it would be epic. Yeah, if you base it off these, or if a Christian was kind of leaving their eschatology, whatever camp, kind of more
Their
to the
bias,
side,
yeah.
and just tried to do a historical, but also some of the supernatural elements that
were
took place that
recorded by-
Josephus
right.
records. Yeah, like seeing armies in the sky and just the weird things that happen. There's more, but
I think it'd be cool.
Anyway.
It could go really south or be really epic.
yeah.
Anyways,
So the famine, Matthew 24:7. If you go to Acts 11:27 through 30, this is documented. It says, "Now in these days prophets came down from Jerusalem to Antioch, and one of them named Agabus stood up and foretold by the Spirit that there would be a great famine over all the world. This took place in the days of Claudius. So the disciples determined, every one according to his ability, to send relief to the brothers living in Judea. And they did so, sending it to the elders by the hands of Barnabas and Saul." The gift that you read about in like 2 Corinthians that Paul is talking about in his letters, getting relief for the Judean saints, that tithe, that gift, that offering was to help those because of the famine.
yeah,
So that was
so
one of the signs.
so cool.
It is so cool. I think just
The
kinda
church
some-
was there for it, dude.
Church was there.
They were for each other.
They showed up. And
did.
Paul said, "I won't even take it myself. I'm going to take someone with me to hold me accountable.
Yeah,
I won't touch a penny of this."
it's cool.
Yeah. Oh, they didn't have pennies then. It was called something different.
It was a might.
What do you think Shrek uses to pay for things?
Creep back in somehow.
Well, I saw your green highlighter on your Bible, and instantly I'm like, Shrek. I get green with jealous rage when I see stuff like that, you know? Literal interpretations. I think we can close out with some of these remarks, yeah?
Yeah. Wrap it up.
Really all eschatology comes down to a literal or hyperbolic or figurative or symbolic, analytical, however you want to put it, comes down to what verses are literal and what verses are not. That's all eschatology is. When it says soon, is that literal? Like Marshall, if I said, if you, classic example, if your wife said, "Hey, can you do the dishes?" And you said, "Oh yes, I'll do it soon."
And I'll wait 2,000 years.
And you wait, no, just wait, just wait an hour.
Sure.
You're gonna be like, "Hey, you said soon." If you wait,
just an hour, dude.
if you wait 5 years, she's gonna do them first of all. She would have done them probably within 20 minutes. But
she would have done it soon.
She would have done it soon because you said soon, and that meant soon. Is that literal? Does that mean something? I think if you don't, because dispensationalists often accuse us of just not taking clear literal texts literally, and I'm like, that's pretty clear when he says soon.
Right.
You, this generation, these people will not taste death. Some of you standing here. He says things like that. Those all mean something. I'm coming shortly. Right. If you, and we don't die on the hill of time indicators.
Sure, no.
But they do mean something. Like God gave us language and the Bible in language to understand. I think it becomes a bit Gnostic where you can't really understand scripture. And it's always kind of in your face, but you can't touch it.
Makes it more confusing.
It makes it more confusing.
And hey, I'll say this: like, there's some things in Scripture that are confusing.
It's true.
You know, I'm a simple mind. You know,
you're a simple kind of man.
But God reveals His word to us, even the simple. You know, I mean, look at the disciples.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What,
I was-
what are you going to
I was
right
trying
now,
to
dude?
find James right now, dude.
Dude, James isn't in the Bible.
What?
No, you're almost there. Keep going.
Oh, come
Oh, no, I think it's, yeah, there you go.
Well, no, I
James
guess
5?
It is James 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says in verse 3 of James chapter 5, your gold and your silver have rusted, and their corrosion will be a witness against you and will consume your flesh like fire. You have stored up such treasure in the last days.
You have stored up treasure. Well, think about Hebrews 1. In times past, he has spoken through the prophets and to the fathers, but in these last days, he has spoken by his son.
Yeah.
So the last days referred to
Right.
right there. I mean, Paul said in 1 Corinthians 10, I believe it's 10, he said, upon us whom the end of the ages have come. And he's not talking about the end of the world. He's talking about the end of the Jewish ages, the old creation ages, the time of the new covenant to triumph over the old covenant. It's interesting because when you're dealing with, I think, a lot of dispensational interpretations of the Bible, they'll take the first 3 chapters of Revelation as literal, but then 4 through 22 is not literal, except for certain elements within. To me, it becomes a bit arbitrary. It becomes a bit random in its like authoritative application. That is just a little here, a little there. You kind of don't get to pick and choose, but you do. You kind of go, yeah, that's literal, that's not. Like, who says that's literal, that's not? You have to let the text tell you if it's literal and it's not. And it's allowed to not be literal where it's not literal. Like, people are afraid to love God's word if it doesn't say exactly what they love. Do you know what I'm saying? It's the same reason that atheists don't love God, because he's not they love themselves. They want a God that they already love. They don't want to love God. They want to love themselves.
Right.
And I think that it's easy. We all have traditions. We come into the text and we have to filter out those traditions. Or Gog and Magog is another one. Any thoughts on that, Marshall?
On Gog and Magog?
Yeah,
No.
just your general thoughts on it. No, I'm kidding.
No. Wasn't Russia and Ukraine supposed to be Gog and Magog?
yeah, that's what I heard.
Sure.
But
Who knows? I'm sure a lot of people don't think that anymore. Or they do. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
But we'll find out. That's the dude. That's
the beauty.
You know what's fun about being post mill, dude?
What?
Is like, let's say we're wrong, dude.
Yeah,
Let's say we're wrong.
we're just
Okay.
idiots.
Then, dude, I'll change my mind when I'm raptured.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Amen.
Like,
Amen.
I'm happy to do
Yeah.
so. You know.
Yeah.
Until then, though, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I think this is all important because I think this ultimately, like, really, your view of the end times really dictates the way you look out at life. It determines your worldview, and this is a secondary topic, but it does really have a huge impact on the way you live, practically. And when I first saw Matthew 24 in the preterist view, meaning past, it really, that kind of took me under the deep dive. It didn't I wasn't post-mill then, I didn't change my eschatology then, but I knew when I started seeing the signs Christ refers to in Matthew 24 in that context, discussing the destruction of the temple to the disciples in that generation, especially with the context of Matthew 21, 22, 23, which we have been going through.
Yeah, you got to keep consistent with it.
Right. Like like Matthew 23, we read a couple episodes ago. It's Christ literally just casting judgment and explaining essentially why he's going to judge Jerusalem and the religious leaders of that day, right? And so, that being said, I think when I first saw Matthew 24 in, I would say, its proper context, and seeing that a lot of this being in the past and fulfilled already, not only did it strengthen my faith, because think about it, there's dispensational brothers and sisters out there who read Matthew 24, and when they read this generation, get a little nervous.
Oh, dude, when I was futurist and I first read, I told you this the other day, when I first read Matthew 16, when he says, some standing here who shall not taste death until they see the Son of Man come, that freaked me out. And I kind of got a little sick in my stomach because my first thought was, was he wrong?
Right.
And I'm like, if he's wrong,
Then
I can't trust this.
You can't trust anything.
Anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that really freaked me out. And I think sometimes we're trying to like not have a panic attack, so we keep to certain faith traditions,
Sure.
certain eschatologies. For me, I was like, my attitude at the time was clearly I don't understand this, so I'm going to come back to it.
Mm-hmm.
But now it starts to make so much more sense in those things, and they're way less intimidating.
Yeah.
Because, and again, if you have one definition of coming,
Yeah.
right? What about in the literal part, right, of Revelation, the first 3 chapters, when Jesus says to one of the churches that if they don't repent, he will come to them and kill them with death and sickness, the children of Jezebel.
Did he not mean that?
Right, that's a coming of the Lord.
Right.
That's a coming to local judgment to that church in sickness and death.
Right.
So the comings of the Lord, if you read throughout the Old Testament, are not always, they're not just one definition. It's not just the second coming of Christ every time. Like the day of the Lord.
Right.
It's the same
There's
thing.
Many days of the
There's
Lord.
many days of the Lord. Right. There's one final day. There's one last day. Yeah.
Right.
But not every one of them is that day. And to me, it's a bit extreme to push everything to the future and say it all means this one thing. And the full preterists do the same thing when they say it's all past.
Right.
Resurrection is past. All of that, right? To me, it's a bit hard to make sense of that.
Right.
And the full preterists, it's very hard to make sense of that.
And also to be clear, for in case you missed it, we would say we're partial preterists.
Partial.
I want to emphasize that.
Yeah. And Marshall is a Marshall preterist.
Nice.
Yeah.
So sweet.
Awesome. Marshall, any last words? I mean, final words. Last words of the podcast.
No. Yeah. Exegete.
Exegete.
And here's the thing, though. Every single pastor,
that's what I
not
do.
everyone. Andy Stanley's not going to say that. Yeah. But
he's like, Bible, what's that?
Any sound pastor is gonna. It sounded like him actually.
Did it?
Wow. We got our accents down today.
I've never heard a single thing he said. Well, actually, I'm
I
sorry.
listen to him every day.
Sorry, I have. I've only heard him in like clips, though. I haven't listened to sermon.
Yeah. I always hear the only clip I really can hear him is from the Apologia Radio intro. They use him in one of their like ads
about unhitching from the Old Testament.
No, just all of the Bible. He's like today, unfortunately, most Christians
think the Bible's the Word of God.
Use their final say in their resource is unfortunately the Bible, and they're like, amen.
Yeah, well, I wish he would say what he's actually saying next without beating around the bush and say, but mine is actually the final say. You know? That's what he's saying. Like, you can't trust this book, but what I say is authoritative and infallible. Yeah, that's what your other option is. So anyway, I hope everyone enjoyed that Andy Stanley impersonation. I pray for the guy. And again, we're going to say this as we do every time we're on this podcast. Watch Shrek after this.
Oh my!
Go watch Shrek the Halls.
I really thought you were gonna bring it home, dude. I think I did.
Back to the Swamps. Is that where home is?
No.
When you say bring it home, I just think of the swamp.
No.
Or Fiona coming home. You know.
In the Essentials, I was trying to quote it. In the Essentials, unity. In the non-Essentials, charity, liberty. There we go.
In all things, charity.
Do you know who? Dude, I really butchered that so hard.
Our Pastor Matt corrected me on whose quote that is.
Oh, it's not Athanasius.
Oh, it is Athanasius.
Oh, it is.
No, I'm sorry. It's Constantine. No, sorry. It's oh my.
Augustine.
It's Augustine. Augustine.
Augustine.
Augustine. It's that guy. It's that person. Yeah. Believe. Wow. I need to forget everything I said. Actually,
we'll have to have Pastor Matt on.
Okay, I'm gonna cut this whole part out.
Cool.
No, I'm not. All right, people.
Have a blessed day.
Yeah, have a very blessed day. Talk to you soon. Peace.